here in Atlanta at the Military Influencers Conference with, state your name.
Alberto Ramos.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Alberto Ramos. I'm originally and very proudly from Las Vegas, Nevada. I live in DC now. I'm a Navy veteran. I was a submarine officer for 12 years, left the service, and I've kind of been in and out of government and politics since having left the military. I now work for an organization called Veterans for All Voters, advocating for democracy reform, community of veterans advocating for democracy reform.
I love it. You served, and now you're continuing to serve in a new way to really help to keep our democracy thriving.
And not just that, getting veterans to serve again, building a, kind of amplifying that effect. So it means a lot for me to serve, but it means a lot more to see so many veterans choosing to engage in our democracy.
Yeah, me too. So tell me, to start it off, what is one public service that happens every day that you could not live without, that helps you be successful?
So my mom was a janitor, an elementary school janitor, and she was a single mom. She is a very formative person in my life, the toughest human being I've ever met. And I oftentimes judge people based on how do you treat the janitor, the person who is oftentimes invisible behind the scenes. I now have two young daughters, a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, and trying to think about the same, I could not live the life that I live if it weren't for the janitors in their schools who are helping take care of my daughters while I'm working. So I think oftentimes about them and how are we making sure to say hi to them and recognize the really important service that they provide to our community.
Alberto, that is powerful, and that cuts into red tape, obviously. But that's the type of real talk that we're looking for. With our movement, with our initiative, with our podcast, which is there are real stories of your mother who was working every single day to make sure that kids have essentially what they need and in the spaces. My mom was also a part-time janitor, right? She cleaned office buildings part-time. Right. After getting off of her full-time job. So thank you for sharing that. At the Postal Service, right? And so, we have often talked about how, public service can save us. And when we talk about these heightened political tensions and partisanship and politics, the loud theatrical side of things, what's Veterans for All Voters focused on right now? As you all advance your mission amid everything that's going on with your things.
So I love the way in which you frame that question. Jimmy and I worked together in government working on veterans issues, and I wrote speeches, and the greatest honor was telling the stories of people like our moms, finding those veterans whose stories oftentimes aren't told, but they're doing really important, meaningful work. They might not be at a fancy conference, but they're doing this stuff. And I think about that often at Veterans for All Voters now. How are we telling the stories of the veterans who are engaged in their communities, registering people to vote, getting out there, knocking on doors for ballot issues that maybe you agree with, maybe you don't agree with, but what a beautiful thing to see democracy in action, oftentimes led by veterans trying to advocate for change within their communities and states. And so at Veterans for All Voters, we do that through democracy reform initiatives, protecting mail-in voting for military families, getting dark money out of politics, ranked choice voting in open primaries, gerrymandering, which is very much in the news today, a set of issues that we think any one of these can help move our democracy forward, using trusted veteran voices and telling their stories, telling veteran stories, I think really amplifies why does democracy matter through the lens of a veteran who chose to serve, put their life on the line to protect, to support and defend the Constitution and this democracy that we all enjoy. So,
wow. I think that there's you talked about the work that we've done together, right? And working in an administration.
You got me my job, so thank you for that.
Well, I will say this for any of the viewers out there.
Everybody needs a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say Alberto is the first person that told me and gave me confidence before I became a political appointee that, you're destined for something great and to add value and to be, deliver a public good, and you need to be out there, right? Like,
and it's because you are all those things. I'm so grateful to be your friend and to have seen all the things that you've done in service to your country. It matters, and you too. It's really important.
Thank you.
So yeah.
I will say, before I pass it to Aries, my last question is just going to be around, what do you think, when you look at public service? I always tell folks that my welcome to public service moment was working on the 10th floor at the Department of Veterans Affairs. There was literally no one in the building, and we had to write an all-employee message around Black History Month. And the secretary was literally coming there because there's no one there. There's only like four or five people on the 10th floor because it's right after inauguration.
Yeah.
And we had to write this all-employee message. And I remember sitting there trying to noodle through, because we didn't have a speechwriter. Our speechwriters were careers, and noodling through an all-employee message. And the secretary was like coming to the office like, "Hey, are you done yet?" And that was like my welcome to public service. It was like, oh my goodness, like when I get done with this draft, it's gonna go out to real people.
Yeah, so 450,000 real employees.
Right. Yeah. So what was your welcome to public service? What was that moment for you?
Well, I'm glad you got a taste of what my day to day was like for those years writing for Secretary McDonough. Doing that hundreds of times was so intimidating, and he is the smartest human being I've ever met. So really wonderful job, but it can be really stressful and difficult. Mine is actually, I'll take a step back. I used to work for an organization called New Politics. I love them. They're recruiting veterans and national service alumni to run for office. And this was also during the pandemic, but things were starting to sort of slowly open up. And there's this candidate who's a military spouse named Dawn Giles in Maryland. And she is just incredible, running for the state Senate at the time. We had a bunch of interns, and we brought the interns to go knock on doors. And just meeting people, and these communities that she represents are kind of spread out. So you're walking kind of blocks and blocks to get to someone else's front door and knocking on their door and having a conversation about what are the things that matter to you. And then let me tell you the ways in which Dawn is going to do to help work on those issues. And it was like, it's hard work. It's hard putting on, getting your steps in, knocking on doors, talking to your neighbors and strangers. But there was such power in that form of public service. And I just really loved it. Meeting people where they are and having conversations. Sometimes people, oftentimes they wouldn't answer their door. But even in that, knowing I'm doing something, it's really hard. It's meaningful. But it is meaningful. And I felt like I was doing something important, even in just having these conversations. And sometimes they'd be pretty contentious too. But even in that moment, they know that I'm a veteran, we can have this conversation. And so I sort of welcomed those hard conversations too, even though they were pretty uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I think, being a veteran often gets us into spaces not everybody can get into. So, I know all of us really, really loved and valued our service. And, now how do we take that to the next level? And that's what you're doing. And the idea that just knocking on doors, that you could, be face to face with the people that are going to, be casting their vote, right?
Yeah.
And to listen to them, to hear what's going on, and then real talk come back at them with, and here's how this particular candidate can help you achieve that. I think is pretty powerful, and that's what we're trying to do here with Red Tape Real Talk. Is get people closer together. There's a lot of mystery, right, behind what some of our public services do. And from your time at the VA, I think there were perceptions of what the VA was, especially with some periods with the VA where some trust was broken. And then there was the reality of what people behind the scenes were actually doing. So as you got to craft all those messages, and I know how hard it is because I was a speechwriter for the Air Force Vice Chief of Staff, and trying to take all of the all of the information people are sending you and craft that into something that is real talk that people can understand and know that the VA secretary could hear them and could relate back to them, his viewpoints. What are some things you could tell, our listeners about what you learned about the VA that people may not really understand?
Yeah, there's so much good substance to what you just asked. And the word that I loved the most was trust. Yeah. Part of the reason I love doing this work with Veterans for All Voters is that veterans are the most trusted institution in America. And there's a lot of power in that, but there's a lot of responsibility too, that trust is so hard to build. It was so hard to build post-Vietnam era.
Yes.
And it is so easy to lose. And we saw that at VA too. We worked so hard to build trust, to rebuild trust with veterans who hadn't been taken care of in the past, who rightfully were frustrated with the VA that they had come to know.
Yeah.
But we represented a new VA and we wanted them to come back to us. We wanted them to know that we're trying to get to yes. We're not an organization that's just saying no to everyone. But that trust was really important. Measuring trust, thinking about trust. And again, oftentimes by telling those stories, a veteran's not the golden boy veteran. It's the veteran who struggled, who was not treated well by VA, and the ways in which we are making amends for that today.
Excellent.
I really loved. And I think you could see that in all of our programs across VA. So yeah.
Alberto, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today and for joining Red Tape Real Talk.
Yeah.
We are very excited about what you have going forward as
thank you.
Taking over the helm there at Veterans for All Voters. And you always have a reliable partner here, and we're thankful for what you do.
Thank you guys for having these conversations. It's important. And for anyone listening, would love for you to join Veterans for All Voters, veteransforallvoters.org. You do not have to be a veteran or a military-connected person. We just need more people involved in fixing our democracy here at home. So thank you both.
Thank you, and that's Red Tape Real Talk here at the Military Influencers Conference in Atlanta.